Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamualaikum. Ji ayanu, pakhera gale, ni hao, chunashumme, washmale. Oh, hi, Gonzaimas. Guten Morgen. Hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal? Hale shama chatore, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, swabi, ab bhalli kare aaya. Hoş geldin and ayo sayo, khuyamora. Chivato, Chihaljot, Kalimera, Khairutan, and a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and are watching World this morning alongside my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Miss Hajar Satti. I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan, and we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. But first things first, hello Hajar, Assalamu Alaikum. How are you feeling today?
Walaikum Assalam. Thank you so much. Jumma Mubarak to you and everyone out there. Jazakallah khair for asking me. And yesterday we had showers in Islamabad and it has become pretty cold, but I think this winter season has shrinked a lot because we are not feeling the sort of the cold that we need to feel, especially since it's 1st of December, right? And it is the peak season of the winter season. So I am really not liking these abnormalities in the weather patterns because we need to feel the cold in order to make sure that when we say Pakistan has all of the 4 seasons, so we can experience that too standing here in Islamabad.
Exactly, and we certainly want to feel it a little more than how it is usually, because I believe that since now we do know for sure that because of climate change that we have a stretched summer, I believe that because of climate change we will experience a stretched winters as well. So probably it's the time that's going to take for the Pakistani region or the Asian subcontinent to kind of get a little more colder. But there are these abnormalities that we really need to address.
But the United Nations reports mention that we are going to witness shrinked winter season and a more enhanced or a more elongated summer seasons with the spans of glacial flake outbursts and all of these events that are impacted by the climate change. But let's hope and see, because COP28 has formally started, that we humans are able to form a consensus on this very pertinent issue that is affecting our mother planet Earth, and we have only this one planet Earth that we live, and we don't have any other planet.
Exactly, so, until and unless you are Elon Musk and you're planning to go into another planet as well. But now coming back to what I wanted to share with everybody. So there's this grief mistake that I've made early in the morning, and I wanted to share it with our audiences, and that was that. So right before the show, 10 minutes earlier, my producer came up to me, Hasnan, and he was like, "Sir, let's go to the studio." And for the last 2 days, because now this is a newer form of morning show, we certainly didn't really do the opening this way around while standing and whatnot, so it needs a little bit of rehearsal every single day. So I was like, okay, you know what? I mean, I'm sorry, but I have to repeat it again so that I can actually send out this message that I kind of behaved as if I am a know-it-all. I'm sorry. And this is something which I need to kind of say to my Allah Almighty, that that's not the case, certainly, but I just wanted to crack a joke, but it went the other way around as well. And this is a simple message for people who are out there, that never be a know-it-all, because what happens is that when you say that you know it all, you certainly forget to put in that hard work which you are supposed to put in. You do not prepare yourself, and unfortunately, it can be a disaster. So never ever make sure that there's this control on your tongue, and never be a know-it-all. That's the message.
I think the other way around is also true. So there's a very famous maxim in English which says, never say never will, right? So you don't have to say that I'm never going to do this again in the future, because you never know what future holds for you or how you're going to act in the future, right? So I think that's the both way around, and we need to be careful about how we word our sentences. But I think sometimes we're not all the time very conscious about how we say, and sometimes what happens is that our train of thoughts, our stream of thoughts just flow out of our mouth, and uncontrollably we say stuff. But again, there is I think that is why there's a concept of repentance, the concept of tawbah, and this is what makes us humans endear to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, going back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and asking for the forgiveness.
And while we're talking about forgiveness, so obviously that's like a human and the creator's relationship. But when we talk about these worldly affairs, a lot of times we do come across issues where we certainly do not have anybody who's going to mediate, so we are like, okay, if me and Haja, we are arguing, and we certainly do not come to a common point, I think that, that it's not going to be favorable for both of us. So what should we do? So imagine that there are so many cases, millions of cases within courts which are pending just because of the fact that, that they could have been resolved by a mediation process, right? Which is why, ladies and gentlemen, we actually wanted to share with our audiences, because it's a good news for everybody. We have a small report to share, first of all, because it relates with the court annexed mediation centers which have been constituted to reduce the burdens of the courts, but I guess it's going to reduce the burden on the people of the country as well. How? The report will tell you.
As Pakistani courts face an ever-increasing number of pending cases, Senior Judge Supreme Court of Pakistan Justice Ejazul Ahsan inaugurated the Mediation Center in Islamabad in order to take some pressure off from the courts while also ensuring that justice is extended in a speedy manner. Chief Justice Islamabad High Court Justice Amir Farooq and Justice Mohsin Akhtar Kiani, along with other judges, accompanied Justice Ejazul Ahsan on the occasion. The aim of the Mediation Center is to help dispose of cases through low cost. Special mediators will be appointed for this purpose. Speaking on the occasion, Justice Ejazul Ahsan said the mediation center established by Sindh High Court in Karachi has produced positive results, which has inspired more work in this direction.
There has to be a system in place, there has to be awareness, there has to be ownership, and there has to be confidence in the system. And it doesn't come overnight. It takes a while. It takes a lot of work, it needs a lot of spade work, it needs a lot of effort, and it needs a lot of training.
Chief Justice Islamabad High Court Justice Amir Farooq emphasized on the need to change public opinion in favor of mediation instead of litigation.
We have trained almost perhaps more than or around 60 mediators. We have now mediation rules. We have issued practice direction in mediation, and now we have this center. So we have done quite a bit to lay down this infrastructure for mediation to succeed.
Justice Mohsin Akhtar Kiani blamed frivolous petitions increasing pendency in higher courts. He favored imposing fines on such petitioners. Justice Gul Hassan cited Turkey's example where more than 3 million cases were disposed of in a short period through mediation.
Right, and that's a wonderful initiative, and it was always been, it was already there, especially by the Lahore High Court, and now Islamabad High Court has also taken this initiative in the form of the alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, in which they provide a very friendly sort of an environment to the conflicting parties where they can discuss their issues, disputes in a very non-court-like manner, where they have biscuits and teas, and especially the family issues, because often on and off we often face these divorce and in the separation sort of a thing. So I think that's an amazing issue, and there's a very famous maxim in English that justice delayed is justice denied, right? So timely dispensation of justice is also very much important, and this will help in reducing the backlog of the cases, which is such a, I would say, a heavy burden on our courts.
And we see examples from European countries like Greece as well, where there were more than 4 million cases which were pending, and now they happen to be at the second number, you know, if we are to talk about how they have been disposing such cases off as well. And, you know, I got the opportunity, I was lucky enough that I was able to visit the Law Ministry over here in Islamabad, and I was in conversation with the Secretary, the Federal Secretary for the Ministry of Law as well. So let's see, what do they have to say? And we were in conversation with the you know, people who actually flew all the way from United Kingdom, because this gentleman himself, he happens to be the founder of the alternate dispute resolution and online dispute resolution as well, this company which works, and they are the ones who come over here and train to set a standard high as well. You know, so let's go, let's take a good look, and I guess it's going to be really helpful for people who are out there, because we're talking about mediation rather than litigation. Let's go. All right, thank you so much, Hajra and Shazad, for tossing it on to me. Hey guys, you know, it's me again. You know, so we came to the Law Ministry and we over here. But there's a good news for people who are out there. And the good news is that, you know, just very recently we got the news that, you know, that court Annexed Mediation Center was constituted by Ministry of Law, Islamabad High Court and Legal Aid Society. What will be the benefits that we're going to reap out of it as common people? That's one question. Number two, I believe that the question is whether it's going to reduce the burden of the number of cases on different courts, on different levels as well. You know, these are a couple of questions, and I'm very glad that, you know, that the gentleman who's at the brunt of the affairs have actually taken out time for us. So I'm going to introduce him and we'll ask him all the questions, pose him all the questions. We're very lucky that we've been joined by the Federal Secretary, Ministry of Law and Justice, Mr. Raja Naeem Akbar Sahab. Hello sir, Assalamu Alaikum, good morning.
Good morning and Walaikum Assalam, and thank you very much for visiting Law Ministry of Law and Justice, especially its research center and library we recently established.
It's a wonderful library, sir. This is something which I was shocked to see in the first place, that, that I've been to ministry a lot of times, but I have never been to a room of such sort.
No, sir, actually, there used to be library, but that was the old fashion. So what I tried to do, because, because in these days, so many court cases and everybody wants judgments. So I tried to, refurbish in a different way. So, lots of people who are like working in the different ministries, they come, and even students, they are allowed to come. So we have AIR and Supreme Court cases, Indian judgment, all England law reports, everything is available there. And there's a high-speed net facilities available as
Wonderful.
well.
And anybody can come over here and do their own research.
Anybody can come, sir. And there are then extended hours.
Wow.
It's open till 6 p.m. actually.
Wow, that's wonderful. So it's another good news, through the platform of PTV World. But sir, now let's come down to the Court Annexed Mediation Center. What's the concept behind it? Please make our viewers understand how they can benefit from it.
Actually, Alternate Dispute Resolution Act was enacted in 2017. First of all, it was enacted in Islamabad, and later on in all the provinces. On the similar line, the act was enacted. But in Lahore, under the Mr. Justice Mansoor Ali Shah, a lot of work was done for the alternate dispute resolution. But recently, actually, Supreme Court constituted a ADR, a task force, headed by judge of Supreme Court, and all the High Court judges are. I'm also one of the member. So then it was decided. Actually, it was decision by the Islamabad High Court, and I was also there, that we should go for the mediation, because sir, currently there are a lot of cases. People don't have, some people, they want to resolve their issue, but unless there's a independent person is there who can help them to sort of their
both
issues
the parties.
For both the parties. And it should be, there should be no, in arbitration, actually, there is a compulsion on the party to, if they decide something, it will be final and binding. But this is completely, at least, the consent of the parties. The parties are not willing, it will not refer to the mediation. For this purpose, actually, sir, what we did, that Islamabad, the High Court, with the assistance of Legal Aid Society, they actually conducted a training, and then Ministry of Law and Justice, we hire ADR. ODR is considered one of the best in world. We hire them for the training of, and there's the judges were trained, district judiciary judges were trained, there was the lawyers were trained, and and currently 69 mediators, they have been accredited by the Ministry of Law and Justice. They have been notified. There are 3 ADR centers, and yesterday there was a great achievement by under the supervision of Islamabad High Court and Supreme Court of Pakistan. In the old building of Islamabad High Court, there's a ADR, Annexed mediation has been established, and from now on, the court can refer their cases there, and any mediators accredited by the parties, they can go there and the issue can be resolved. So.
Wonderful, sir. But for my understanding, for the understanding of viewers, so what we're trying to say or establish over here is that, for example, if I've had an argument with my fellow cameraman and we cannot set a resolve to that, that means that that we go to the court, and then the court will refer us to the mediation center, or it has to be our choice in the first place to be referred to the mediation center.
No, actually,
how will it work?
Sir, in court, the court can, any dispute will come to the court. Court will say that the parties should go there. Exactly. There will be an option, and if the people go there and if they resolve their issue, there will be no compulsion. But if they resolve their issue, I will just give you example. For example, you are my employer, right, and I am your employee. So no, I'm just giving an example. And if we have a master-servant relationship, right? This is very established principle. So if you you just without assigning any reason, you terminate my services. No, what maximum I can say, I can ask for certain damages, a certain amount which you owe to me.
True.
So if we go to the courts, then if I will go to the court, they will issue notice. You will engage the lawyer. It's a long process. But when I know that my claim is, for example, 4 lakh rupees, and you said, okay, no, as per your record, claim is 2 lakh rupees. So the issue can be settled.
Exactly.
Sir. Issue can be settled, and like the landlord and tenant disputes.
And we are looking at civil, commercial, family, and rent matters.
Currently, yes, but I just want to point out that in our ADR Act, in criminal cases which are compoundable, there is enabling provision there available as well.
Okay.
So at the first stage, we will go for this.
Okay.
And once I hope it will be very successful in.
Sir, just one simple question, that is that, when the act was enacted in 2017, so we are here in 2023 talking about the Court Annexed Mediation Center. What took us so long?
So actually, firstly, the whole focus was on the arbitration.
Okay.
So Arbitration Act is of 1940s is not performing well. There is another committee under the chairmanship of Mr. Justice Mansoor Ali Shah Sahab is working. I'm also part of it. So very soon there will be new Arbitration Act is coming. So with the passage of time, the commercial activity, that the nature of disputes has
Changed,
evolved.
yes.
So, but I know one can criticize that from 20 it took us like 15, 16 years to get it done, but now it's done.
Exactly.
And,
Alhamdulillah. Finally, we are on track.
We are on track, sir.
So, is it going to reduce the burden of the number of cases on High Court, Supreme Court?
There will be a remarkable reduction in the...
Because we see examples in Greece, we see examples from Turkey.
Turkey, sir, in the Malaysia, they are doing very well. In Indonesia, in all the neighboring countries, the Singapore is leading actually on this.
Exactly.
Leading on this, sir.
Exactly, that's wonderful. And very quickly, sir, because obviously we are new to this chapter, where we're talking about court annexed mediation center. So a lot of trainings are taking place, and you're setting a standard high by bringing in the founder of the alternate dispute resolution or online dispute resolution, Mr. Rahim, and we will be talking to him after this as well. So you are imparting these trainings to judges, lawyers, and people from relevant ministries as well. How do you think that it's going to turn out, and why was it important to train them?
So training is important because this is not a in every commercial law university in the world they teach alternate dispute resolution.
True.
But just few lectures don't make you expert for mediation.
Exactly.
For the mediation, that is the international standard. At least you have 40 hours training from a the proper person who is authorized to do training.
True.
For this purpose, initially Legal Aid Society they conducted a training, and then on the second phase, then I volunteered as the government of Pakistan, the federal government shall come forward, and we shall spend some money for this because
True.
It will enhance our administration of justice and legal system. For this purpose, we selected ADR, ODR,
yes.
and they conducted a training for 25 people. I just want to point out that there was 9 to 10 civil judges, 2
Exactly.
judges from the Bluestan High Courts. I requested them, so they nominated 2 people from there as well. And then there was one person from Federal Board of Revenue. There was a person from the Pakistan Medical Dental Council.
True.
And
And 12 lawyers of Supreme Court of Pakistan.
Supreme Court of Pakistan.
Exactly.
So
So that's wonderful. But why do you think there was a need for you to hire somebody from abroad? Was it to set a standard? Was it because of the fact that they are already established in 40 different countries?
yeah, because no, sir, what we did, sir, with the help of and under the supervision of Islamabad High Court, there's a government money, so I am responsible
careful
for
about
every
it,
single
yes.
penny. So we advertise this. There's 5-6 different people from the world. The people who are performing this, they actually submit their application.
Wow.
So after technical evaluation, financial evaluation, so they were selected. So that's why we granted
Wonderful.
them.
Thank you so much, Raj Saab, for being
Yes,
with
okay.
us. Is there anything else you would want to share with us?
There's another thing actually. I made another humble effort. Actually, in Pakistan, sir, there is a problem that so many people say, sometime in lower judiciary people say that we don't have updated laws.
Okay.
For this purpose, we had a dedicated website that's called www.pakistan.gov.pk. So from 1835 till 2023, all
amazing.
federal laws are there. And we have apps as well. It's on Android and Apple Store. So
And what's the name of the application, if you can share it with us?
The Pakistan Code.
The Pakistan
The
Code.
Pakistan
Wow.
Code.
I mean, so there's a lot of work taking place.
Exactly, and you can copy, you can download, you can email. So it's not that there's not a scanned copy. If there will be any amendment in the law and you have downloaded that app, so you will get a notification as well.
Oh, that's wonderful,
Thank
sir. I would like to congratulate you for the initiatives that you've undertaken as well, and for everybody who's out there. I mean, most of the time, just because of the fact that we are so far away from the grassroots and what's happening, I believe that this is going to open your eyes, that there's a lot being done right at the Law of Ministry, ladies and gentlemen. We were in conversation with the Federal Secretary himself. And not just that, I think I would like to have a word with the trainer himself as well. So thank you so much, Raj,
Sir,
for being
sir.
with us.
Sir,
Lovely
thank
to
you
be in
very much.
conversation. And for everybody who's out there, I'm just going to go for a minute, come back after a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Right, ladies and gentlemen, so now getting into the international aspect of it. Obviously, I've spoken about, court annex mediation center, and and I've given you enough information on that. But I would like you to meet, for all our viewers who are out there, this amazing gentleman who's over here, who's giving away trainings as well. He happens to be a barrister himself. He happens to be the founder of ADR and ODR, and people who are actually thinking about what ADR and ODR is. So alternate dispute resolution or online dispute resolution. We're very lucky that we've been joined by Mr. Rahim Shamji. Hello, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum salam. Good to be here.
Likewise, thank you so much for joining us. Wonderful to have you over here. And since now we are going to talk about the mediation center's perspective, that too in an international context. So obviously this idea is not new. The act was actually present in 2017. We have worked on it, and now people can take advantage of it. It will reduce the burden on the court as well. That's fine. But in an international perspective, how would you refer that that this is the right direction that we are going into?
Sure. So internationally, what we're seeing is a massive trend of mediation growing exponentially. There's two types of mediations that most countries practice. There's private mediation, which people pay for outside of the court. There's also court annexed mediation. So India, Greece, Kenya, Bangladesh, Italy, all these countries where we are working quite regularly have moved to court annexed mediation. And what they begin to do is create confidence in the process.
Okay.
Because people attach courts with formality. This is a place where justice can be done. And when a court asks the parties to go and mediate in a court setting and not a private setting, it feels like it's part of the court system.
Exactly. It's part of the process.
Yeah. So the landscape is now increasing, not only from an adjudicative process where judges say you're right and you're wrong, but judges saying, look, go have a go. And not just go have a go in a center that we've created, that we're partly funding, that the mediators are trained and accredited at international level, which is what we're doing here. And so if you take an example of Greece, where mediation is now mandatory, and that might be the next step that Pakistan will look at in time, what you're seeing is at one point in the European Union, Greece was the last in the list of 28 countries.
True.
It's now in the top 2.
Wow.
Right? And it has gone from a place where people were waiting a very long time for justice to a place where private mediation, court annexed mediation is growing. If you look at Italy, Italy went from having 8 million cases pending to just over 1 million.
I believe that it's good and it's overwhelming to hear as well, because whenever we talk about the European part of the world, obviously Greece might not have had been the, the boy with the silver spoon, right? So we really need to talk about that.
And you think about places like Southern Europe, even East Africa.
Yep.
These are not countries that are rich in the G7 or the G5 we used to call, but these are countries which have struggled and economic crisis hurt them a lot. And I look at a place like Pakistan where there's inequity in society, and people don't want justice only to be served over years at cost.
Right.
So they want a resolution to the dispute. What do people want? They want it to go away. And what mediation offers is an avenue or a venue where you sit down with a trained mediator who goes through a proper process. It's not just banging heads together.
I will come back to this bit, but for people to have a better understanding in your terms, because you are here to train lawyers, judges, people from ministries and whatnot. So what is your perspective on mediation outside the court or mediation inside the court? Which is more fruitful for you?
No, I think we call this in English as horses for courses.
Yeah.
Things work for different...
We say the same in cricket.
Yeah, exactly. It's for different parties and for different opportunities. Big organizations that have a dispute won't even go towards the court. They will use means to resolve it because they want to preserve the relationship, want to get back on the road. For them, private mediation. So for example, my organization, ADR Road International, which is based in London, we're in 43 countries. We've just set up in Pakistan, AOI Pakistan. And we're working with the International Center for Dispute Resolution in Lahore, as an example. Now, that will be a center partly regulated by the high courts, but also available for private mediation. So those big organizations that realize that relationship is more important than the dispute.
True.
We need to find a way out. We need to get back on track, go to those centers and do that. for those individuals that would have otherwise gone to the court, because relationship is not the key, but rights, enforcement of rights, etc. They will look at court annex mediation as their avenue. And so there is no one better than the other.
So it's more like that, that if two parties were unable to resolve their issue, so obviously they will come to the court, and then court will certainly mediate it for them.
Yeah.
Because then, at least they will,
but
one way or the other, decide something.
Your viewers will know, when you go to court, it's a zero-sum game. One win, one loser.
One lose, yeah.
Then the loser will say, well, I don't like the judge, I don't like the court, I'll appeal.
Yeah.
And we continue.
True.
The idea of mediation is you come to the table and you dig deeper than your positions to find common interests that allow you to move on, so both feel like winners.
Exactly. So it's like, party A will come down to a common point, and then party B will come down to a
and I wouldn't even use the word down,
Yeah.
I would use the word across.
Across,
Because you
yeah.
don't have to concede.
Yeah.
You have to think differently.
Which is why I took my fingers up as well.
Yeah, exactly,
All right, It's
exactly.
good. It's good for understanding as well. But now let's come down to the training bit of it.
Yeah.
Because you are here, you want the judges and the lawyers to understand what we are doing. And in terms of training, what have you been imparting so far? Because I believe that, just now, for everybody who's watching us, there was a training going on.
Yes.
So
We're here at the Ministry of Law and Justice.
Yes.
This is our second trip. I'm working with my colleague Sarah Tarar, who runs our centre
the
here.
Pakistan chapter.
Yeah, the Pakistan chapter. And what you will see is that the Ministry of Law and Justice has taken a big step in training internationally accredited mediators.
Wonderful.
Now, why is this important for Pakistan? Because two reasons. One, we want to create confidence in the public that the people that are doing that are internationally recognized and trained. And secondly, it allows us to have a very high standard in an international level.
True.
Because Pakistan also wants to be able to bring international dispute resolution here.
True.
And if you're going to do that, then you have to say across the board, the standards are very high. And I was encouraged at the opening yesterday of the center that people are talking about international standards.
Exactly.
But I want to be clear about something.
Sure.
While it's an international standard training, it's culturally relevant to the culture of Pakistan.
Yeah.
It's not an importing of a Western ideal and saying, do what we do.
I think for me to make it understand to our audiences out there it's like, Sulah Safai ka jo rasta hota hai. I think people would be able to understand it. That's what we call mediation. So I think it's good. Now, when we speak of international standards, very quickly towards the end, there's only one thing which I would like to ask, and that is that because you're imparting these trainings to judges, lawyers, and people of the ministries as well, relevant ministries.
Yes.
How is it to their understanding? But because it's relevantly a newer concept over here.
Yes, I think this is a great question, and the answer is really simple. Culturally, here in Pakistan, people like dialogue. Right? We like to talk here.
Sorry, but yes.
So in this part of the world, the team, the people who are delegates who are coming to train, get it.
Okay.
Right? All they're doing is then perfecting the process.
Okay.
So I don't think it's that new. I think the name is new. I think the idea of having it in court annexed and the law changing a little bit is new. But people like to talk. And you and I know, when you're in Pakistan here, you can have hours of chat with anybody.
Yeah.
Imagine chatting constructively with a mediator and resolving your dispute.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
That's
we
what
want,
it is.
constructive conversation.
So another adage: duck to water. They've taken it. They haven't struggled.
Yeah.
And I'm very impressed. And I think that Pakistan has a very exciting future if it keeps the high standards.
Inshallah.
If it maintains this growth with all the courts and all the stakeholders working together.
And if you keep on training wonderfully.
Inshallah, we'll keep coming back.
Inshallah. Thank you so much, Rahim bhai. Thank you so much for giving us time, and it's wonderful to have you over here. And we want to see you, coming back again, inshallah.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Welcome back, and today is 1st of December, like we talked about, and it is the World AIDS Day, and the theme of this day is Let Communities Lead. And obviously it's a very important day considering the fact that AIDS has been a disease that has had lots of stigma attached, that has lots of taboo attached, and we need to break all of these stigmatization and all of these taboos, because this is a disease, this is purely treatable if you can have the treatment available. And To talk more about it, we are very glad that we have been joined by two wonderful guests in our studio. We are very glad that we have been joined by Shahbaz Akbar, who happens to be an Executive Director, Speak Trust. Assalamu alaikum and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Walaikum Assalam, Hajra. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Right.
Good morning to you too.
Jazakallah. And joining Shahbaz, we also have Ms. Fatma Hassan Zaidi. She happens to be a Manager of Strategic Partnerships and PR, Speak Trust. Assalamu alaikum, Fatma, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Thank you. So it's wonderful to have you over here to talk about, the most important topic. I believe that, when it comes to the well-being of the general population, we feel over here at PT World that it's our responsibility to disseminate correct information. And while we're talking about the theme, this year, it's the 35th year that, that from 1988 till now that we've been observing World AIDS Day as well, and so it's utmost important that people know how are we going about it. So, in particular to speak about Speak Trust as well, first of all, it is to, end the HIV related stigma, right?
Yes,
the entire concept of the day is that. How do you think that you guys are working to eradicate the stigma which revolves around the word HIV and the illness and the disease itself?
Well, first of all, Shahzad Sahab, thank you for talking about stigma, because I think stigma is the most challenging aspect of dealing with HIV.
True.
Well, of course, anyone who's not afraid of HIV will just go to a hospital and get tested and get to know their status, and from there they can start the treatment, and the treatment is free. There are 74 treatment centers all across Pakistan established by the government, and the treatment is free and the disease is treatable. So stigma is the only hurdle which is stopping people from getting tested and everything. So we try our best through raising awareness through social media, and sitting with you on TV and talking about this, and getting more and more people to get tested. And along with that, we also we know that most of the work is being done with the key populations. So with HIV, Pakistan right now is at a concentrated prevalence high risk stage.
Okay.
Before this, we were at a low prevalence high risk stage, but now we are at a concentrated.
And I would want to kind of talk about the statistics and what the numbers kind of speak of it as well. But there's this good news after 35 years, and that is that HIV is no longer a public threat. And in the first place, I think I would want people to understand and contemplate on that and share it. Word of mouth would do. Now, when we come down to your trust in collaboration with National AIDS Control Program has conducted a national level stakeholder consultation on HIV screening and referral of returnee and deportee at international airports. Please make us understand a little, and then we'll get into the numbers.
Well, it's a first of its kind intervention. Nowhere in the world has it been tested, or is Speak Trust with support and collaboration of NACP, which is the government body on National AIDS Control Program. They're doing wonderful work. Dr. Simon, thank you so much. So these people, the government, they wanted to understand that even though we are managing the HIV spread among the key population, but we also see a rise of HIV infections among the returning migrants. And we have 99% of migrants are men. And because of the gender dynamics in our country, we don't allow women to go abroad and work.
Yes.
So only men can go, and they have access to female sex workers, and they also live in congested spaces. So shared spaces. So 8 people share one room, and there they share the personal hygienic kits with each other, and they also contract it from there. So this intervention will initiate a pilot intervention which will have a testing facility at the airport.
Okay.
So roughly 40 to 50,000 people are deported every year. So deportees are vulnerable due to 2 reasons. First, they were migrants, and we know that migrants are vulnerable to HIV. And second, they were also detained or were in prisons. So these 2 factors make them super vulnerable to HIV. So these 40 to 50,000 people will be tested at the airport with their consent and with dignity and confidentiality and everything. And along with that, the returnees, so we know that people stay abroad for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and then they come back for some months or some time. So we will also encourage them to get tested at the airport. The test will be free, will be conducted by the government and professionals. because of this test, their wives and children will be protected from HIV. Right now, we have people, we have children, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, HIV positive, poor, and they will be on treatment for life. So it's quite tough and quite dangerous, and in that sense, it's quite tough for the children, and also the women. Are also getting infected because of their migrant husbands. So migrant husband comes from abroad, they're not testing, they go straight back to their wife. So because we know it's transmittable through physical relations.
Exactly.
Right.
So right now we don't have data of how many women are HIV positive due to their migrant husbands, but we know that close to 1,000 migrants are HIV positive. But this is without testing. We never tested proactively the migrants, and this intervention will proactively screen migrants, and I'm pretty sure their numbers will be in thousands, but I don't think people should be worried because HIV is not life-threatening anymore. It's treatable right now.
That's very true, and according to WHO, there are a few statistics that I would like to share, that it has claimed 40.4 million lives, and there are estimated 39 million people who are living with the HIV at the end of 2022. So now, Fatma, coming back to you, there's lots of stigma, there's lots of discrimination, and that too at the intersection of social factors, for example, the class, gender, race, like Shahbaz mentioned about it. Do you think with all of these conversations regarding HIV, AIDS, we have destigmatized the issue? What sort of conversations we need to have in order to make sure that all of this taboo and destigmatization will happen?
All right, so first of all, I would like to thank you for having me over. And as far as the answer is concerned, I believe that as for now, like previously, even mental health was considered a taboo talking about.
True.
But as for now, we have the power of media, radio, so we can transmit it to by the mass knowledge. And it is not just about being on television screens and educating the people about it, but the people who needs to be educated about the stigma of HIV is like the poor people, the ones who refuse to have knowledge about it. We should try contacting them in person to person education, door to door education. I know it's very difficult, like telling them about the disease, telling them how to get treated, but it is very important. And I believe, like, if we go to the backward areas, door to door, informing them about the importance of testing and about the disease and all, we should even give knowledge to the mothers, because it is not that it is only transmitted by being physical.
I'm sorry that I'm interjecting, but how do you think that you're going to do or probably provide more awareness in areas where people are not even willing to have polio drops?
People are not willing, but if it will take a lot of difficulties in telling them, but I believe that if we cater to the mothers directly about the importance of the disease, it is not only that it is being transmitted with the physical interaction, but it can be transmitted through breastfeeding as well to the little kids. And of course, I believe if a man or a woman is not wanting to get it tested, but their babies are precious for them, either the babies are born and they are being breastfed around, so they must think about it. And treating anything is not bad. If something has happened, we are not sure that we want to talk about only the intercourse, but they know that it can be spread through different, like injected material,
the blood transmissions, the instruments,
an open wound, anything.
And when we've seen this, especially, I think there was a village in the Sindh where because of a quack, because he was injecting patients with one, I would say, contaminated injection, and he spread the HIV/AIDS in the entire village, and it was diagnosed, and that became a story. But obviously, like you mentioned, that we do not have lots of authentic data in order to make a more ground analysis on it, but WHO is also talking about, has been tasked to promote the dignity, equity and inclusion to help combat the stigma and the stereotypes that are attached with this disease particularly. So what is your organization doing to combat the stigma and especially the mental health aspect of it? Because once you are diagnosed with that, taboo is still there. How do you deal with it?
You know, first of all, I would like to talk about the Larkana thing.
Yes.
You mentioned that, Hajra, and you know what
I think
happened?
500 people were affected by that or something like that.
1100 people,
1100.
and 700 were children.
Oh
And I worked on that during those days, and you know, it was not just one quack, it was a malpractice by a number of quacks in the same area. And just yesterday I got to know about a case of a 1.3-year-old kid. He was diagnosed with HIV when he was just 3 months old, and his parents were negative. His parents did not have it.
Then?
So he contracted it through a quack in Alipur Farash, which is right around which is Islamabad surroundings. So later on, his mother also contracted HIV from the same quack. So this quackery and the malpractice is happening all across the country. We really need to have mayors check and balance on local clinics and everything. So I'm coming to the HIV stigma as
Exactly,
well.
and we certainly want you to kind of talk about it, but very quickly I would want to, you know, reiterate this message across as well. That for everybody who's out there, you know, I think it's our responsibility to share that we really need to make sure, even if you're going to hospitals for testing, that the new needles, syringes are being used. Even if we are to go to the barber, we really need to make sure that we tell him or her, whoever she or he is, that you really need to kind of make sure that you know, do what is necessary, you know, whatever the standard operating procedures are. Not just that.
Definitely.
I think this is one thing which I would like to talk about, and that is that, you know, there's no harm in a girl or a boy getting tested before marriage as well. Why? I mean, there's no harm. I would like to kind of reiterate in Urdu as well. ख़वातीन हज़रात, अगर शादी से पहले बच्चों के टेस्ट करा ली जाए, मेरा ख्याल है बहुत सारी तकलीफ से बचा जा सकता है. ये ससुराल के अंडी प्रेशर और लोग क्या कहेंगे इससे बाहर आए. जान जो है वो सबसे ज़्यादा कीमती है.
And I think Iran has made this as a law that they have to get tested before the marriage. So I think at the government level, that's a good initiative.
Well, it should be voluntary, and because whenever someone is tested against their will, that can be dangerous because people, you mentioned mental health.
True.
And thank you, Shazaz, for mentioning this very important point. It should be voluntary. People should get tested before marriage. People, whenever they go to a doctor, they should ask for a new syringe. People should just simply know more.
True.
Everyone, there's Google. Just go on Google.com. Just search how can I protect myself from HIV, and there are very simple guidelines. There is no rocket science right now. I mean, with also ChatGPT, you can just literally do anything now. So I think the knowledge is out there.
True.
For free, available. Just protect yourself and your children and your spouses, and it you know, just physical transmission is not the only transmission.
True.
People are also getting it from doctors. So you know, one guy, one person from Larkana, owner killed his wife, and she contracted it from a quack.
Oh.
And he thought otherwise, and he had some other suspicions. So I really you know, strongly advise people to, you know, just don't be misinformed. Just, you know, just educate yourself. It's quite simple. Feel free to be tested, and this is how we counter the stigma and the taboo part of it. HIV is less dangerous than diabetes.
And
Yes.
so there's a recent example of this. So what happened was that there was this gentleman who unfortunately photoshopped a picture with a girl, posted it on internet. It went viral. The
Yes,
gentleman, you know,
yes.
who was the husband of that lady, unfortunately has murdered that lady. You know, so imagine that, you know, just by photoshopping it and people being in doubt. Please do not commit such a mistake. It's a heinous crime.
Yes, I think the gender is everywhere. In whatever you talk about, gender is there.
True.
So the toxic masculinity also contributes to HIV. I'm a man. I need to have multiple partners. I need to be active. I don't care about protection. Don't be like this. So many young people are contracting HIV in Pakistan because they simply don't care about protection, and they think they're man enough that nothing will happen to them. And also this is particularly related to men, you know, or out of 210,000 people who are HIV positive in Pakistan, 170,000 are men. So we really have a problem with men's behavior towards health and how they approach health and testing.
So very quickly, because we short on time,
yes,
there was a proposition from your trust, and that was of the technical working group. You know, so what is the technical working group, and how will they work, and who will be the members of that group?
So our technical working group is comprised of people from Ministry of Health, National AIDS Control Program. I'm thankful to Ministry of Health.
Ministry of Overseas Pakistanis.
Yes, Ministry of Overseas
Common
Pakistanis,
Management Unit for
FIA,
HIV,
FIA, Ministry of Interior, Civil Aviation Authority. Because we're dealing with such a complex issues, we're dealing with people who are coming back to Pakistan from abroad. And these people, when they went out, they were healthy, they were young, they were fine. But those people, they send back people who do not clear the health test, annual health test, you know, they have to go through that. So because the issue is not just about health, it's also about migration, it's also about, you know, border health security. And so we have a whole variety of government departments who are working on this. And all the migrants in future will have this facility at the international airports and land crossing borders, that they will have access to free HIV testing, and it will be voluntary, and your rights will be ensured, and your dignity will be safe, and it will be confidential. So this, and I'm going to say it again, by the government of Pakistan, this is happening for the first time, and no other government all across the world has ever tested it. So we are quite innovative. And I'm very happy about that the government is taking this initiative in a good way, and I think it will honestly help close to 500,000 people every year,
Inshallah.
Forever.
Inshallah, and it's not a life threat. You know, that's the good news that we have shared very quickly. Moving back to Fatma towards the end. Fatma, you know, so we do see every year, alhamdulillah, you know, me, Hajra, people like us who are on television, we do see, you know, them recording their messages and giving it away for the awareness of the people. What other tools do you think can actually be utilized to make sure that we reach out to a bigger audience?
And especially to the communities, for example, you talked about the prevalence of it in the truck drivers or all of these communities that might not be affected or do not have the penetration of the smartphones or social media, and they might be subscribing to more traditional form of the media.
Okay, first I would like to answer to Shahzad.
Sure.
So for the tools, the biggest tool I believe is social media. Everybody is using social media, even the truck drivers and people across are scrolling through Facebook videos, Instagram videos, and they can stop by, anything can click to them over scrolling over. So like little messages, but the messages language should not be English here. The message, this is for you as well, while talking to the little communities or spreading the message through social media, one should record a message in all local languages.
Right.
Because wherever the person is not familiar with Urdu, if a person is familiar with Sindhi, so somewhere he can, by boosting up the story, by boosting up the area stories, they can listen it to the direct message in their own language. I think that might help.
Wonderful. So now coming to the question which Hajra posed towards you.
Okay, so that was somehow answered in the same way, like coming to the small communities, we should have posters, we should disseminate the information like we disseminate the information to a playgroup child, because those people first of all are not interested to listen, are not like they think it's a taboo and it's not good to talk about it. So this information should be like really, it's not about the...
Right. I think the
Do you
most
mind if I
effective...
say something here, because very important, because you talked about the community. So HIV is mostly prevalent among specific groups of people, which are truck drivers, female sex workers, and transgender sex workers, and MSM, and most importantly IDUs, which are injecting drug users. So this year's theme is Let Communities Lead. So if you want to reach out to these communities, the hubs of HIV prevalence, then we need to have leaders from within the communities.
true.
So, for example, one transgender working for other
Right,
transgenders, one
right.
migrant worker
And
working
I-
for other
and I
migrant workers.
believe-
Since we're short on time, so we'll have to wrap it up. But I guess that that we've
Thank you
provided our
so
viewers
much.
with relevant information. But thank you so much, Mr. Shabazz,
Thank you so much.
Ms. Fatma, for
Thank
being
you
with
so
us,
much.
and for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, it's your responsibility to make sure that you spread the message out. And yeah, it's a good day. Good morning.